knowing him. He is one of our AWS community builder. He's Angular guy. He's the guy we need to look upon for the communities in Karachi or in Pakistan, right? Well, not exaggerating.
Yeah.
Uh, Awais bhai, can you please introduce yourself and just start start sharing your screen?
Yeah, for sure. First of
Okay.
all, thank you for the amazing introduction for me, Mursal. So it's been all of the community guys are very helping other things and helping the communities towards growing. So this is kind of a good start. But as AWS is actually, we are looking for to have some amazing meetups did over. So as we did in the last meetup, so we connected over. So they are actually amazing AWS meetups here we are actually coming with. So there are actually two kind of AWS user groups. One is from AWS user group Pakistan, and one is this AWS user group Karachi, which is Mursal is actually hosting for that. So first of all, welcome you guys all in this amazing event, which is hosted by Mursal and AWS communities. So first of all, let me before dig into this session, let me introduce myself. My name is Mohammad Aves. Mostly you guys are actually knowing me. If not, so I'm also a tech speaker. So my name is Mohammad Aves. I am a senior software engineer. I'm working at Royal Cyber here at Karachi, and I'm also a core community member of Google Developer Groups and Angular. Also, other than that, I am Pakistan's first AWS DevX mentor and AWS community builder. So Mursal and we are actually from the same batch. Other than that, I am an Auth0 ambassador from Pakistan and a Postman Supernova. I'm also representing JetBrains from Pakistan here. So this is little about me. I'm also an open source contributor in terms of Angular and its state management library called NGRX. So yeah, let's start with the introduction. Let's start with this session. Hope you guys can see my screen, right?
Yes, Awais, it's visible.
Okay, yeah. So today's session is about we will be talking about serverless technologies, right? So most of you guys have heard this term about serverless and like AWS services. So AWS is kind of a vast service in terms of cloud. So the AWS is providing amazing services in terms of EC2 instances, API gateways, and other than that, they have actually also an amazing service called AWS Amplify. So the main function of the main purpose of this talk is to kind of give you an knowledge about what is AWS Lambda and how AWS Lambda is actually being differ from other AWS services, and how this service help us to build our without server apps or kind of running separate container instances on AWS. So this session is about running code without thinking about servers using AWS Lambda and API Gateway. So before this, I have actually dig into this whole session, but I was actually preparing the slides and doing some material stuff. So it was kind of a very huge talk. So I will be covering most of AWS Lambda stuff here in this talk. So in next coming month or after 3 to 2 weeks, we are actually also hosting another event, so in which I will be finishing this talk with API gateways. So let's start with this talk first. So I will give you a brief introduction like how it's been functioning over. Okay. So as I already mentioned my introduction, so this is actually kind of international recognitions from my side, from the other communities. So let's start with the talk. So before after this talk, like the main motive is like what we will be learning after this session. Once this session will be finishing out, so what we have an idea and kind of a things we have in our mind after like this talk. So this session is about AWS Lambda functions. So we will be looking over like how AWS Lambda is actually helping to build the serverless applications on the backside, and like users not like as a user we are not worrying about the servers, right? So this session is all about that. So if you are looking into that diagram, which is actually mentioned on the slide, so there are actually there are three kind of chunks in this slide. So the first chunk is actually a user. This could be a mobile app or a web app. And the second chunk is an Amazon API gateway, which is kind of another service provided by AWS. So the third one is AWS Lambda. So in this talk, we will be talking about AWS Lambdas, like how they are operating and functioning over in the Amazon API gateway. So I will be hitting up this thing in the next talk. Right, because there are actually a bunch of things towards covering with this session. So the main purpose of this diagram is like when user is actually sending an HTTP request to the server. So either the server is on AWS or DigitalOcean or kind of other things over. So the main purpose of AWS is different from other cloud service providers. It's kind of an amazing thing. There are actually a bunch of other services with the support of them. So HTTP post come over to the AWS on the Amazon Web Services with the help of Amazon API Gateway Service. And after that, that service should be sent it over towards AWS Lambda functions. Then after Lambda functions trigger over and respond you back on that terminologies. So this is how AWS Lambdas are functioning over. So they are actually a bridge of Amazon API gateway in between that's actually been used for sending over the data towards our Lambda functions, right? So this is all we will be learning on in this session. So the serverless term is actually very now very well known by the users and by the students or by the developers in nowadays. So what's actually differ between serverless and a traditional, like how serverless is differ from our traditional kind of thing. So in our traditional applications, actually, when we were building our mobile apps or web apps, so in the traditional kind of thing, we are actually looking over the server. We are actually maintaining our servers in our site. So we are actually having with the APIs written over on the backend technologies and with the front end actually. So there are actually two code bases, and we are also maintaining a server to host that backend on that. And then after a front end application or a web or a mobile application is actually hitting that backend server. Okay, so once that will be hitting over, so then all of the front end logic, back end logic, security, databases, so all these chunks are maintained by the developer or a company or a stakeholder who's actually been using that. So this is actually kind of a traditional thing, but inside the serverless we don't have to worry about those backend logic, security, databases kind of stuff. So all these services are actually provided by the cloud service providers. So if I'm taking an example of AWS, so in AWS actually for the database thing, AWS is using DynamoDB. And for the security purposes, we are having it some policy rules. We are having the Cognito as well. So there are actually a bunch of other things as well. And if I'm talking about backend logic, so for the backend logic, we are actually been running over the instances of like either we are using AWS Amplify for the serverless, or either we are using API gateway with Lambda functions. So both of the, like we don't have to worry about the code side. Like it's totally a serverless, and we don't have to worry about servers. We don't have to worry about the running of the code over instances. So it's been totally managed by AWS. So this is how traditional and serverless actually comes in a picture. So my main purpose for this talk is to give you guys a brief idea like what serverless actually is and how it's been performing and performing the task in terms of servers, and like what it's been a difference between traditional and serverless. So let's move over. So the first thing now, what actually is AWS Lambda? AWS Lambda is actually, we can say it's an event driven compute service. It means like as I give you the example, like let's suppose if I want to perform some task, or if I want to perform or get some data from the backend thing, so or the database, so I should have to write a function in AWS Lambda, which will be consuming the AWS sorry, AWS DynamoDB service. DynamoDB is for the databases. So when the request come over Lambda, so on the Lambda, the request should be coming over with the with the API gateways of the AWS API service, and then after it comes over AWS Lambda, and then after it should be performing the work. So we can like trigger hundreds and thousands of Lambda from our like AWS services. Like it's for SaaS. It's a software services application, software as a service. Like, and the good thing about AWS is like the main things you are actually being using over with the time and with the term of with the term of usage. So AWS will not charge you on the basis of monthly or kind of other things. So AWS will charge you on the basis of your usage, right? So AWS Lambda is actually a serverless event-driven compute service. Like we can compute some task or we can perform some task by writing the scripts in the AWS Lambda console panel, which is actually console is actually provided by AWS, and we should have to write our scripts in one of the supported languages by AWS. So if you can see in a diagram, which is actually been you guys are looking on the screen, so it's been kind of a image resizing service scope. So if assume that like a photograph is taken from a device, and that's actually been stored on that should be actually the main purpose of that image is to resize in terms of optimal way to optimize the storage of those images. Like either those images are not too much large, it should have to focus on the face only, right? So assume that this is a use case. So in how AWS Lambda is helping us with this, and how AWS other services are helping to finish up this scope. So the main thing is on the first step, like you assume that you have snapping over your you have taken over the picture from your cell phone or device, and that's after on the image taken, it's been uploaded towards cloud, which is that service is used as AWS Amazon S3 bucket. Amazon S3 is for storing of files kind of stuff. So that image will be going on the S3, and then after S3 bucket, once it will be loaded over, so it's been actually triggering our function in AWS Lambda. AWS Lambda runs image resizing code, and that assume that my code is written over JavaScript, and that's been I have been deployed that function for resizing my image in terms of like assume that I'm resizing my image towards 500 by 500 pixels. So assume that in the starting over, the picture is taken from DSLR, so that's been 1200 pixels by like assume that 1920 or 1080 full resolutions. So then after I will be resizing that image into 500 by 500 pixels in terms of lower resolutions, and then after that resizing should be running over from AWS Lambda. So we don't have to worry about the front end thing. We don't have to worry about those things from backend side. So we can try to do a microservice kind of stuff over. So that's actually been managing this stuff over, and it's been resizing your images and kind of sending your images toward database, which is like we can use Amazon DynamoDB as well for that. So this is how that's actually kind of a simple scope. So I actually mentioned over like how AWS is actually been helping us towards functioning with these microservices, and like we don't have to worry about servers as well. So Amazon S3 is kind of also a service, just like as we have AWS Lambda. So in Amazon S3 we are actually being capable to store the images or files over. So AWS Lambda, inside the AWS Lambda, we can compute some kind of things, like assume that the resizing of that image source code. So that's actually kind of a script we have written over in the AWS Lambda. So that's been kind of a container over. So the main function of actually AWS Lambda functions are actually self-contained applications, which are actually being written in one of the supported languages by runtimes and uploads them to AWS Lambda, which executes those small functions in an efficient and flexible manner. So this is how AWS Lambda is. We can take over a look in the next slides as well. Okay. Now in this in the next session, we will be looking over like how we can achieve with AWS Lambda, what we can achieve using AWS Lambda. Is in terms of when AWS had designed this service, which is AWS Lambda function. So the main purpose of that is actually you can run your code without thinking about servers or clusters. Like you don't have to worry about how many servers are running over and how many load is actually being coming performed. So you don't have to worry about those stuff. Just you have to provide your scope and you have to finish it out with some kind of scripts you have written over, and those scripts and functions are self-contained applications which has been written over either Node.js, Ruby, or kind of other supported languages by Amazon. So if you guys are actually been if you can see these four boxes, so these are actually the things which are actually being the features which AWS provides us. So AWS Lambda are actually being manageable infrastructure provided by AWS, and we can also scale those and respond to code executions requests at any scale. So we also trigger those events, and basically Lambda function triggers on the base of on the basis of event triggers. like assume that I have written over a service, and that service is for sending over the city name by, or sending over my greeting message totally over with the IP. From my IP, it's been taken over the location of me, and then after it's been resizing it's been maintaining a new message, and it's been responded towards API. So for those kind of stuff, actually this is actually a simple scope as well. We can achieve that with AWS Lambda. And for achieving that, we should have to write a small script in any of our languages. So like supported languages like JavaScript as well. So we can write over those scripts, and assume that I want to trigger that in terms of hitting a post request from my web application or mobile application. So once that request will be coming over, the event should be triggered. And after the event triggers, the AWS Lambda start its functioning. So that's how AWS Lambdas are actually been working over. So AWS Lambdas, these are actually very performant functions, and these are actually in the high demand towards fulfilling the serverless applications. Okay, so in terms of panel, so we have AWS source panel. So we have that management console provided by AWS. So the bunch of services are actually mentioned over. So for preparing this talk, I've actually did some work over AWS Lambda service in my from my AWS management console. So I have went over, if you can see the search bar above, so I have searched the service with Lambda, and then after I have clicked that Lambda, so that Lambda section. So after that, it opened this screen which is on the slide. So from here, actually, I don't want to use any blueprint. I don't want to create a container image kind of stuff. So because those are some heavy stuffs. So if you guys have a detailed scope, so you can learn over and you can move with those chunks. So in my case, the example was actually I want to send my name, send the day today we have, and kind of three kind of things. I actually want to send an object towards AWS Lambda with the help of an API. So this is kind of my scope when I was testing the AWS Lambda and preparing for this session for you guys. So as you can see, as I have opened AWS Lambda function, so inside that I have selected author from scratch. So this is kind of a simple application if I want to write some script to perform some simple task. So in that use case, I should have to select author from scratch, right? So from author from scratch, so the main the second thing was actually I should have to write the function name. So in terms of I was because those Lambda function listing should become over in your AWS management console. So in terms of remembering purpose, I have used get started Lambda integration. So I have written that name in the capitalized case. So then after I have chosen my runtime, like supported languages is Node.js, which is kind of a JavaScript thing. So then after the architecture is by default whatever AWS suggested that, so I didn't moved over on that. So after that I have clicked on OK, submit. So when I clicked on the submit thing, so the second screen was actually the instance which is being running over the AWS Lambda. So AWS Lambda function is now ready. If you can see this screen, so function in terms of in the section of function overview, you can see the get started Lambda integration card on the on the screen. Sorry. So I have created that, and the function the function ARN is actually also mentioned over. If you can see on the right side, so this is how the function will be started over. So if you guys can also see a add trigger button. So you can perform a trigger kind of thing, like if you want to run this if you want to run this Lambda function on the basis of an event trigger, so you can assign the trigger or write over the trigger here. So this is kind of a more detailed thing, so I will be unable to catch over that thing in this talk. So the main purpose of the first step was to create a Lambda function, and the second step was to write a Lambda function sample code. So if you can see in the source code, in the code source section, I have written over some JavaScript code. So in that JavaScript code, what I have written over is kind of I'm actually passing some object from my uh, from my uh, from my app or web application or mobile application. So I was writing that service is okay. The event city will be provided from the trigger, from wherever the lambda is being triggered over. So the main object which will be coming in terms of API payload. So that should be the city name, and that should be the name of a user, name of a city, and day, right? So those three things will be coming over. So the main purpose of this script is to write down a greet message and respond back to the request. So this is how lambda functions are actually been helping over. You can write your script to perform some functions rather than of using servers. So when I have written that JavaScript service here, that JavaScript script here, so then after I clicked on deploy, right? So when I clicked on deploy, so that source code will be deployed in that AWS Lambda function. So then after I can test that. Okay. So after pasting this script here, so after deploying that, so I have actually been using that trigger part. So on, like, I assume that I have written over that script, and now how I can trigger that lambda function. So for that thing, actually I should have to configure an event for testing our lambda function, right? So here, if you can see, I have actually been created a new event. So this pop-up will be coming over when you will be clicking the deploy, right? So after once you will be clicking the deploy, so this event trigger will configure the test event should be come over. So in that, actually the event template is automatically selected here, hello dash world. I didn't change over it because the main function of my lambda function, it's been actually requiring an object with the name, city, time, and date, right? So from here, I have actually written over event name input box. If you can see hello world test. So I have mentioned the name here. Then after I have pasted some sample object here, which will be containing my name, city name, time, and day, right? So these four things will be coming over towards my lambda function. On that trigger, on the basis of this object, my lambda function will perform some actions, right? So if the next step is to press your create button, so that event should be created over. So now in terms of that, this fourth one, this screen, the fourth testing your lambda function, it's been the same screen which is the step 2 one, if you can see, right? In the source code section, there are actually two buttons. One is deploy and one is test, which is in orange color. So this is the same screen. It's automatically been opened once you will be creating your this event from step 3, right? So once it will be done over, so I will be like, it's been responding when I will be clicking on the test button. So this event executed. If you can see in the status, so the test event name is hello world test, which is the event which I have created from the pop-up, right? So if you can see, from that event I am passing this object, right? Name, city, time, and date. So in the fourth one, if you can see the response, what's the response? It's been responded from my AWS Lambda function, which is greeting, good morning, Muhammad Awais of Settle, happy Sunday. So what it's been using my city name, which is Settle, right? And it's been it's been using the happy Sunday. So what's actually the day? I'm passing the day is Sunday. So it's been, what it's doing, it's been computing the time from here, from the city, time, and date kind of stuff. It's been performing some actions and concatenating the string in terms of sending, in terms of message. So this is how it's been responding towards AWS Lambda function. So like, if you can see the function logs as well, so it's been showing over like, okay, this request is coming over, and build duration is like 3 millisecond, memory size is 128 MB max. So this is how the computed server of AWS Lambda functions responds. So you don't have to worry about like how many storage it's been using over, and how many computation power we have to use by our server. So it's been also storing your request ID as well. So this is how this all of the stuffs are actually been running over on the instance of AWS Lambda functions from the AWS management console. So we can write our script and we can deploy that end to end on the AWS management console, and we can test that as well. So this is how actually AWS Lambdas is actually finishing over. So the main part which I was being covering also in our next event, which will be continuing from this one. So assume that now we have created our successful Lambda function, which is being used for like assuming that it's been used for parsing over the message for using your time and your day, and it's been sending you the greeting message, right? So the second step I will be doing over in the next event is I will be using Amazon API gateway. So now from the sorry, in terms of now, I was actually been using I will be using this AWS management console from here to test my event, right? I've created a sample event and passing those data from here from the test event, and I will be using that here. Just I was using there. So the main my main motive for the next talk is to use Amazon API gateway service. It's been also a fully managed service that makes for developers to create, publish, maintain, and monitor secure APIs. You don't have to worry about your backend. You don't have to worry about your backend servers. So you only have to create a resource, and that resource should be parsing your whole APIs in terms of all CRUD operations. So this is also provided by AWS. It's kind of an Amazon API gateway. So I will be using this in my next event. So the main purpose for using this Amazon API gateway is to sending this data, which is sending this event object. I will be sending that from a post request from the postman, right? When I will be sending this object from postman, so it's been responded over with this success response, which you are looking here in the source code. So this is how I will be planning it. I was also looking for to you consume that Amazon API gateway service in this talk as well, but it's kind of a very boring stuff. So I thought it may be a very long talk, and we the audience should not actually grasp hold of this session over. So the main task for you guys is to create this. You guys have to create your own AWS management console account. So it will be charging $1 for testing purposes on that time, and just after that it will be going back that $1 should be again credited back in your bank account. So it's only for security and testing purposes. So once your account is actually been available and it's been okay, so AWS will again send the whole amount like $1 back to your account on that actually charge section second. Right, I will suggest you guys to create your Amazon AWS management console account, and then after you can you can perform this AWS Lambda function from my slides as well. I will be sharing my slides on my Twitter, so you guys can take over from here, and you guys can ping me over if you can need any help. So this is my GitHub, and the slides URL is actually been also available. So if you guys are looking for it, so you can take a screenshot of this screen. So this is all about the talk, right? Thank you.